Hello there. Welcome to Tell Me Why Anime Reviews. I'm Anthony.
I'm Brandon.
Today we're going to be reviewing The Night is Short, Walk On Girl. So this is a movie by Masaaki Yuasa, who I'm sure that most of you have heard of if you follow anime at all. He's come out with a whole bunch of stuff lately, including a Devilman Crybaby. He came out with Ride Your Wave, Lou Over the Wall. It was directed in 2017. And it's from his the same team that did the Tatami Galaxy that he worked on and some of his other stuff. Science Saru is what the production team is called.
Based on a novel by Tomihiko Morimi, illustrated by Yusuke Nakamura. It won the grand prize at the Ottawa International Film Festival, along with the Japan Academy Prize for Animation of the Year.
So this movie is pretty much just a romp through the town, kind of like an alcohol-fueled, magical realist romp through the town. It just kind of follows two characters, the senpai and the kohai, or the girl with the black hair. And they're just, how would you describe it? I mean, she just goes out and just starts drinking.
Yeah, she's just having a night out, and he's just kind of having on the struggle bus all day, pretty much, like trying to just find her in order to, ask her out, basically.
Yeah, just trying to track this girl down to ask her out. Because he, what was he saying? It was like coincidence versus...
Chance. Yeah.
Chance versus coincidence.
Yep.
So this guy keeps just bumping into this girl on purpose.
Yeah, he just wants to, for her to see him, and he's met her, hundreds of times in certain places, probably over the 4 years or 3 years that he's seen her there. And throughout this entire time, he still hasn't asked her out, and it's this is his plan to, I've been around you so much, now I'm just going to ask you out, pretty much.
Yeah, and he just has to build up all this courage to get to it. I love the opening scene where they're sitting at the table, right?
Yeah.
And then, so she's sitting at the table with her... Who is she with?
I think she's just probably with some college friends.
She's just with some college friends?
Yeah, I think so.
And then it kind of does the train ride backwards over to the table that the guy's sitting at.
Yeah.
And he's with his friends.
Yeah, you got the president of the student union or student council. Then you have... Mr. Don Underpants, pretty much.
Yeah, Don Underwear.
Yeah.
And they use Don as a suffix. It's kind of like a polite suffix that they use for a junior apprentice. It's supposed to be in the Kyushu dialect, so it's underwear don. It's kind of it's kind of like a nice way of saying his name.
Yeah. And his story itself is just crazy in itself.
Oh yeah, and his story... No, you don't realize that he's going to play the role that he does play, but, Don Underwear, keep an eye out for him.
Yeah, for sure.
What happens after that? Does it follow her? That's when it goes and follows her and she goes into that bar, right?
Yeah, that's when she meets Toto, and they're pretty much talking about life a little bit, and he's just trying to encourage her along, telling her about this special alcohol, basically, that...
Danky brand.
Yeah, Danky brand.
Imitation Danky brand.
Imitation Danky brand. And he's pretty much just, telling about how this, distilled and how somebody, they couldn't make the original stuff. So they made this offshoot, but the offshoot itself is very rare. And, so he's just talking to her about this, and... he's just encouraging her, okay, you just gotta live your life and what have you, live it strongly. Because I believe he's saying at the part he was talking about his daughter and kind of being estranged from her a little bit. And so he's just, saying oh, live your life strong. And meanwhile, he's just trying to grope her. And she gives him the friend punch with 4 fingers over the thumb, which will break your thumb if you try to punch somebody that way.
And so we find out that this Toto is collecting erotic prints. Erotic, Meiji era prints.
Yeah. And he's basically trying to take what he has and not lose this bet to Rihaku.
Rihaku is an interesting part of the movie because going back and reading a review about the book that this is based off of, apparently he's like everywhere. Like this is like the god of the city almost, is the way that he's portrayed in the book. And the movie really cuts it down and makes it a lot more streamlined. So you just think that he's just like this rich guy stealing people's underwear.
Yeah.
But you don't realize that the book actually has this guy as really more of a mystical figure. And he just lives in this 3-story riverboat. At the bar, after she punches Toto, she earns the respect of these two characters. So there's Higuchi, and Higuchi is like the samurai look, or the Meiji era looking guy with this big chin, and he's supposedly a Tengu. And a Tengu is a yokai. If you know what a yokai is, it's like a supernatural being. They're kind of like demons, but sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. Hanuki is with Higuchi, and they're just kind of this duo. They hang out together. Now, so neither of us have seen the Tatami Galaxy. So I understand that these characters are in Tatami Galaxy, and so we're probably missing something there.
Yeah, probably a little bit.
Probably missing something there. But just as a standalone movie, I'm not really sure what Higuchi does. It's just her I'm not really sure what Hanuki does.
Yeah, she's just kind of like, she basically talks about the town a little bit, but from there it becomes more about Otome, or the girl with the black hair, and throughout this scene, she's meeting different people at different bars and drinking as much as she can. And I guess the one thing that Hanuki does do is talk about getting in a drinking contest with Rihaku. And like winning a drinking contest against him would say a lot about, okay, she has street cred or something.
Some some clout.
Yeah, some clout.
It is kind of like, because it is like a college kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
Like if you can drink a lot, you're cool.
Yep.
Yeah, and Rihaku, as the god figure of the town, kind of plays that role when he doesn't, it's not like he has to, as you find out later on in the movie.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, it's almost like he's playing the role that she needs him to play. Like, she needs to be the good light, and he needs to be, like, the darkness.
Yeah.
He's just like, everything is bad, and she's like, everything is great.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, they just have this conversation during the drinking contest. He's like, oh, life is empty. You got to take what you can, make money. And she's over here talking more about her positive experiences that she's been having throughout her life so far. That's, like, one of her character, part of her character, basically.
And the main character is trying to find a book called Rat-a-Tatum. Or is that what it is?
Rat-a-tat-tatum.
Yeah, Rat-a-tat-tatum. It's a book about a train, apparently, that the main female liked as a kindergartner. So he was trying to find this book to give to her.
Yeah, it's one of those many ways that he's trying to get in front of her and ask her out, basically.
The art of this movie is one of the main reasons to watch it. I mean, it's just very stylistic. Masaaki Yuasa, every single one of his projects is different from the last one, but they all have the same squiggly kind of line work. The colors are really bright and flat, and it's very reminiscent of Japanese woodblock prints, which isn't everybody's cup of tea. I know a lot of people like a more fully rendered environments and things like that. But if you're just looking for really nice 2D flat illustrations and just watching them move with this really fluid animation, Masaaki Yuasa's for you. He also did the ping pong animation. If anybody's seen that.
So the background art in the film is more simplistic and drawn just to give a hint of what's going on, along with having bright lights, bright colors, along actually with the environment that itself. Like if you see a tree, there'll be patterns going in the tree, there are patterns on the ground, and also you'll see in the background that they'll use textures, like they'll slap on a brick texture, or they'll just have like some kind of white noise fuzz on a wall just to give it a hint of what it is. And I believe they do this because the characters are drinking, and they want to give you a little bit of a picture of what is going through the character, like what the characters are seeing, basically.
The textures are really great in this movie. Masaaki Yuasa always seems to make really tactile stuff. Like, it looks flat, but if you look closer, everything's got kind of a paper grain to it. The music is by Michiro Oshima, and she is actually the person who did the music for the original Full Metal Alchemist anime.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah.
So, she did some of the Beck Mongolian Chop Squad. She did the Buddha movies based on the Osamu Tezuka manga. So she's got some serious credits, as well as doing a couple of the other Masaaki Yuasa movies. And this music fit the movie so well. I mean, it was like French cafe jazz, as Brandon wrote in his notes.
Yeah, it's very whimsical. It's just like you're going through it and you feel like, just kind of getting lulled by it. It's very relaxing, and it fits the movie and the tone really well because it's not a serious movie. It's, you're just having fun, and, you're supposed to sit back and relax.
Yeah, it is a fun movie, and the music helps with that a lot.
After the eating contest, we head into Don Underwear's gorilla play. Basically, Don was sitting across from a female, and at the same time, apples hit their heads, and he considers it fate. And in order to find his lost love, he sets up these gorilla plays in order to become famous around campus so he can get her attention and meet with her again.
Don Underwear, who would have known?
Yeah.
He was the mastermind behind the whole thing.
Yep.
Because these gorilla plays have been going on throughout the movie.
Yeah, and it's funny because this is basically why he was wearing his underwear for basically since he met her till this point, because he thought that it would bring him good luck in order to find the woman that he fell in love with.
And then, as fate happens, it's the director of the school operations committee, or festival committee, and they almost kiss on stage because it becomes known that this cross-dressing school festival committee guy, who's actually his friend, they've been hanging out the whole movie, and so they're about to kiss, and then what happens? The carp hits him in the head, and he regains his strength, I guess, as a carp is the symbol of strength in Japan.
Yeah.
And then he ends up falling for the girl who liked him, who was on this gorilla play team.
So from here, the whole town gets a code, and while Otome's going around and making sure that everybody's okay, she meets up with the senpai, and senpai asks her out, and they finally are going to go out on a date.
The end, and that's how the movie ends. It's all pretty simple.
Yeah.
It all wraps up nice and well. They're like sober in the morning, and they meet at the coffee shop.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, and then it just kind of ends, Yeah. And so that it really is a good way to wrap it up. And so my personal feelings about this movie, I think that it's a smash success at what it was trying to do. And I've never seen the Tatami Galaxy, and I feel like I would have gotten a lot more out of it had I seen that 13-episode series first. But even as a standalone movie, it's up there with my favorite Masaaki Yuasa movies. I'd probably put it, third behind Ping Pong the animation. I just love, and also Devilman Crybaby, is great. This would probably be right behind those. Yeah, and it goes into a lot of the magic realist elements. Really drew me into it. The artwork, mixed with just the surreal feeling, the music, the surreal artwork, the magical realist elements of you're not knowing if these characters are spirits or not, if they're gods or not. Doing research, I did find out, more about these things. But as you're watching it, you're questioning yourself, you're questioning what's happening, you don't know who these characters really are. And that whole environment really does lend itself to just a pleasurable, cerebral experience.
I really like the movie. I feel like it's kind of one of those movies that made you make, at least with Black Haired Maiden, how she makes you think about life a little bit. Like, I really like her exuberance for life, and that like, although she has like this one track mind where she's thinking about, like, oh, she's thinking about alcohol, she's thinking about the bookstore, and she's, thinking about the people in the town, but her one-minded devotion like just makes me think about, hey, like, what if I put this much thought into my own life, and concentrate on one thing at a time, and really, just enjoy that moment, because that's one of the themes of this movie, is that you see time, and for her, time is moving slowly. And in this day and age where you have, the internet, and, everything streamlined and you want it now, it's just like one of those movies that teaches you that you need to stop and just enjoy the moment, enjoy what you're doing, because this, like, the throughout the night, it's just one long night. Like, although there's magical elements that are extending time, for her it's just like, a regular night out in the town, and she's just having a good time. And to me, that really speaks volumes for this film. It's just, you can apply some of the lessons that you see in the movie to your own life. So I'd have to say that I really enjoyed this, and I would really recommend it.
I pretty much recommend it to anybody who likes animation.
Yeah.
Even if they're not an anime fan, I think that even though you do need some heavy Japanese culture, I think most people can appreciate it as just an art form. So it might be a good one to bust out with some friends if you're trying to get them into anime. You never know; it might catch them in that good spot.
Yeah, like, friends, nightlife. What's not to love?
Tell me what you say.